Okay, so we're going to go back into doing more on the sovereign citizen hit pieces that have been coming out. Now we're going to go put the words that are said on this program under the microscope, and we're going to discern fact from fiction by what you can verify, all the claims that are being made here, and also by the general public who believes what they're seeing here. So first I'm going to actually bring up the definition of ignorance before we go any further, just so we can start with a base understanding of what that term means. And then we'll listen to what they say and see if that falls within confines of that definition of ignorance. So I'm going to write back with the definition. Right, ignorance. Ignorance is the refusal of knowledge of truth due to the presence of fear. Ignorance negatively influences the quality of our decision-making process in every area of our lives. Ignorance is the willful disregard of life-serving knowledge. So just hold on to that before you think it's been made up, because now I'm going to go to actual things like Etymology online, and then I'm going to pull it from there so you can see the overlap. As you can see, this says the online etymology dictionary, and here we go. Ignorance, lack of wisdom or knowledge. Old French, ignorance. 12c, from Latin, ignorantia, want of knowledge. Ignoration, 1832, has been used in the sense of the act of ignoring. From the proverb, where ignorance is bliss. Now we're going to move down to the adjective of it. Lack of wisdom or knowledge, unaware. That's from the Old French, ignorant. Latin, ignoratum, nominative, ignorans. Can I say ignorance? Not knowing, ignorant. Present participle or of ignorare. Ignorare, I'm probably sure that's probably how it's said. Not to know, to be unacquainted, mistake, misunderstand, to take no notice of. See, refusal, no notice, to pay no attention. See the connection here? So it says not. So the in means in opposition, right? Not opposite of. That's how in, indignant, inadequate. So in is the opposite of whatever words follow it. So aware, acquainted with. So you are not aware or acquainted with, right? So source of classical Latin, noscere, to know. So it's to refuse to know, right? And then it says this, it's suffixed from the GNO. So GNO, like from gnosis, spelt GNOSIS, that means to know. So there you have that. Now I'm going to pull up another one to start and think that that's not of any value. From the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the adjective ignorant, a noun, ignorance, both are related to the English word ignore, to refuse to take notice of. There you go. They all track back to Latin words ignatus, from in negative noscere. See the overlap, guys? This last one with negating a is related to the English word agnostic, unknowable, tracking back to the Greek. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that one. So a little bit of evidence if you're interested. You can do your own research as well, but doing the work for you. Now we're going to go back and watch that video, and then we're going to see what they say and how much they refuse to actually look at objective truth, openly refusing it, and how they're shaping that narrative for you to accept as well. So here we go, guys. I know you've seen it before, but now we're going to look at it from a different perspective, look at the words they say, look at the things they write on the screen, and then we're going to look at the actions that follow that later. Here we go.
You might have seen them online. They call themselves sovereign citizens, political activists wreaking havoc across Australia, refusing to comply with government officials, including the police, deciding which laws they want to obey and which ones to ignore.
So he's using the same words, right? Ignore, refuse. But what does it say at the bottom here? Inside the wild conspiracies and shock confrontations. All right, so just think about that, right? And then we're going to dig into what's actually said. All right, so now we're going to move forward because I have played the footage of the police, ripping the window and stuff like that. So I want to find where this guy's an absolute ripper. And the statements he makes, right? But actually, why don't we look at the people in the vehicle first? Why don't we do that? Where are you? Just trying to find the vehicle. Okay, so we're going to look at some evidence facts of who's doing what. Okay, so there's people in the vehicle, right? So if they're in a vehicle, right? The claims are being made that they don't pay tax, right? You hear people online jumping up and say they don't pay tax. Well, if they don't pay tax, right, how do they get in this vehicle that requires fuel? Because to actually get fuel, you're required to go to a petrol station and fill up. And you don't get to choose whether you pay tax or not because GST is just lumped on top of everything you pay for. So then the claim has to be made that these people are not driving vehicles that actually run off fuel. They run off something else. So that's what they have to be able to verify, right? So then if that's the case, like where's the proof for that? Yeah, and then they're going to say that they obviously don't actually buy food either or clothing because, you know, obviously this woman's naked or she must make her own clothing. But whether does she have her own mill that she, you know, goes and grows her own cotton? Is that what happens? Because these are pretty wild claims now. They're saying they don't pay tax. So if she's buying her clothes, would she not be paying tax? So this is what's verifiable evidence, right? But they're just going to be telling you some really wild things here, right? And now we're going to look at this Dean of Law. This is an absolute ripper, right, what this guy says. So let's just get past the violence first. All right, let's get back into the wild claims. All right, here we go.
Joined by the Dean of Law at Southern Cross University, David Halpin. David, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. This movement has really gained attention recently after some shocking confrontations like the one we just saw. Can you firstly explain for us what is a sovereign citizen exactly?
There's a spectrum. On the one hand, there are those who just want to challenge the law by raising old common law doctrines and concepts of sovereignty, and that's probably a positive thing. But
so we're going to come back and we're going to look at that in another piece about what he just said there, because that's quite important. But I'm going to go past that and just listen to how he explains what a sovereign citizen is.
At the other end, there are those who simply refuse to comply with laws that apply to you and I.
Now remember, he said the word law. Okay, very important. We're going to go on. Now look at his eyes. I just froze it. Where is he looking? Up. He's constantly looking up when he's speaking. So this is someone who's got to look up a lot, doesn't really have knowledge pouring out of them. They've got to think. This is a pause moment. So just be attentive to that as well.
They see themselves as separate and different. They say that they don't consent to the jurisdiction, and by their own declaration, they're not bound by laws. So at that more extreme end...
Now remember, he said by their own declaration, they're not bound by laws. We're going to go and define law in a minute, and then we're going to see if that can actually be verified, what he just said.
Of course, that can end up being pretty dangerous, as we see in the video, but all...
Oh, okay. So now we said they're pretty dangerous, as we see in the video. So what actual physical danger did you see these people actually commit? Were they the ones that were smashing their own property? Did they now rip themselves out of their own vehicle? Is that the danger? This is right there in front of you, right? Is to stand in refusal of what you can actually see and verify. So the comments are in opposition of what's actually happening. There's your living definition of ignorance, just like how the commentators started off. Like the claims they made are not verifiable. Like I said, if people don't pay GST, how do they get to drive vehicles that require fuel? What about the clothes they wear, the food they buy? That's paying tax all the time. It's unavoidable. So where are they getting these, and like the claims get made, that, they use their roads and our taxes pay for the roads and our taxes pay for hospitals. And we're going to go and look into where money really comes from too, exactly, to see how much you really understand about the true nature of justice.
Also, the connections between those involved with the sovereign citizen or pseudo-law movement.
So now he's calling pseudo-law, right? Yet he hasn't defined the word law yet. It's funny about how they never define the word law. And we're going to do it for you very shortly.
And horrible incidents like the one we saw in Queensland involving police late last year.
So what is he talking about then, right? So now he's saying that shootings that happened, right, very dubious, that's to do with these people who are so dangerous that they get police officers to rip their windows out of them and arrest them. That's how dangerous they are, because they were carrying weapons and they were threatening life. That's what you saw happen right there, right?
Yeah, and that's where the extremities of this go to. But I guess
So now there's extremities here too. Now we're going to go into look at what the word law actually means, right? And anyone who wants to challenge it, they're more than welcome to come and show how it's not true. So please go ahead. But here we go. We're going to bring out that term, what law actually means. One of the most funniest things that I saw happen was a lot of people just jumped online and started saying, "You're not a lawyer. The lawyer, judge, you can't win in court. You don't know law. Lawyers only know law." Well, you tell me which lawyer can actually define law. because this is the actual definition of law: an existing condition that is both binding and immutable. It exists in the present and in perpetuity, permanent across all realms. Now, that claim was just a moment ago that they believe the law doesn't apply to them. How can they have the law not apply to them when they're bound by it because the laws exist in nature? Anything that is not neutral, that is not binding on all, is not a law. The things that you guys believe are law are things that are made up in people's minds. That's the legal system, but that's got nothing to do with law. Law is something that's neutral. It doesn't have a preference. It doesn't discriminate. It has the same effect on all of us. So that's the true understanding of law. Very few people can actually define it, because what I found is when I asked people, can you define law? They couldn't, and they'd start going into attack and insult. So anyone who has no knowledge, right, ignorance, who refuses truth, all they're left with is insults, because there's no other way the ego can stand the fact that they've been caught out, that they don't know anything about what they're saying. It's too painful for the ego to handle it. So then all they've got left is to project that pain, that suffering that they're enduring, the shame that they hold inside, onto someone else. That's what's called a projection, transference. These are all conditions that, your own structure that you believe in will actually define for you. So, you guys get to pick and choose what it is you want to accept and what you want to refuse. So that makes you an actual God, just like the people you're watching here on the screen. They get to decide what's right and what's wrong for you. And you get to choose whether you actually accept or refuse it. And unfortunately, the majority accept it without really questioning it or doing any real research. So we're going to come back with more in a second. Okay, so all you people who are lovers of lawyers and believe that we're living in a just system, I wonder if you realize what the term the bar means, that they all swear an oath to, including your judges that you think are amazing and know more than you. The bar was England's own British accreditation registry. So, here you claim that Australia is independent, but yet the actual, system of justice we run under, it's okay if they go under the British accreditation registry. Contradiction much? Were considered to be nobles, being above the common person. Take a think about that for a minute, guys. All lawyers or attorneys, that's going to be a very important word there, right there, because we're going to look into that word in a second, had to belong to it. Again, all lawyers or attorneys had to belong to it. So that is who they swear their fealty to, not you. And they were under the will of the king and the Bank of England. Just sit with that one for a second, guys. That's who you're actually swearing, you believe is there to serve justice. Someone who's under the will of the king and the Bank of England. Really sit with that one. Okay, you can look it up for yourself. I'm not going to do any more on that. This is just something to pique your interest. If you're really interested, you can go do your own research. But sit with that one. That's who you believe is there to fight for your freedom and rights when you step into these fake courts. And I'm going to tell you why I call them fake courts. Because a court of law cannot charge for justice. It's not possible. Anything that charges for justice is a business, and it's not justice then, is it? And I'm going to actually back those claims. We're going to do the things that very few people do in the media, and very few people who launch their assaults, their attacks on others who are actually uncovering truths that are verifiable, they can show you evidence of. Very few people do this, right? They actually launch their own investigation. So now let's get up some definitions. And remember, this is historical here. You're going to see the historical link. Now, the word attorney, right? Here it comes from the actual origin of the word. To agree to be the tenant of a new landlord or owner of the same property. So an attorney is someone who works to do with anything to do with property, because they're turning you over. Anglo-French attorney, to transfer allegiance of a tenant to another lord. So you are now hiring someone to transfer you as property from one individual to another lord. So that's what you're doing when you're hiring these people you think are there for your rights, guys. There it is. You can look it up yourself. It's right there in black and white, but I'll bring up a little bit more on it to give you that historical content, because remember a moment ago, it's all back to England and the king. Okay, so we're going to go back and show you what happened back then. Attorney, acknowledging a new lord or transferring homage and fealty to the purchaser of an estate. Bar attorneys have been attorning ever since they were founded at the Temple Church by acknowledging that the crown and he who holds the crown is the new Lord. See, the same words are just repeating now, guys. Lord of the land. Because King John, remember we said it was back the kings, earlier you saw the definition, defaulted in 1213 in the contract. The new crown, the crown temple, had a new Lord, the Pope and his Roman Church. All this stuff in history you guys have never been taught about, guys. It's all there. The little bits of crumbs are all there for you to actually go and pay attention to if you choose to. If you don't, then just keep denying it. But guess what? There's more evidence coming, guys. It's all discoverable. It's all in the public record. So hold on to your hats. Very luckily, I was one of the lucky few who actually was able to grab this before they tore it down, and now they've hidden all this information. So here we go, Department of Justice. This is Dun and Bradstreet. If anyone doesn't know what that is, it's a credit reporting agency for corporations in the USA. Why would our Department of Justice be listed in a corporate reporting agency in the USA is the first question. Look at this, all capitals. Funny how you see it all capitals. How many people actually understand what all capitals means? Capitis diminuto. Let's go look that up. I wonder who's going to go and do that. Department of Justice and Community, all capitals. Now it's all of a sudden it's gone from all capitals to the way we can see. Why did they do that? Why are they switching? All right. Located in Melbourne, again, all capitals, Victoria, Australia, is part of the Justice of Public. Why are there two different ways to represent the language here? Is this the same language? That's the other question. Justice, Australia is part of the Justice, Public Order and Safety Activities Industry. Now, does industry sound like that's a public-owned venture to you? Is that what that sounds like? That's a public-owned service, the word industry? I'd love to hear what your definition of industry is. Because if we were to look that up, which I'm not going to do because it will just take forever to get this video done, I'm willing to bet it's nothing to do with public service. Department of Justice and Community Safety has 9,070 employees at this location and generates 5.27 billion in sales US dollars. Now, the argument is that we live in a system where we pay tax, right, to pay for these services the government offers us in return. Now, if the courts are a service that the government offers us in return, why are they a private business that needs to collect money? Why do we have to pay to use a service that we pay for already by the sheer fact that we have taxes? Why do we have to pay to go into our own court buildings, which we own through our taxes? Can you explain that? Pretty curious, isn't it? There are 122 companies. Now, the word company, I wonder if that has a different definition to most people who believe that just because these corporations have businesses, it's supposed to be government entities. If the company now means that something different to you as well. In the Department, again, all capitals, of Justice and Community Safety, corporate family. It's right there in your face, guys. Who's the key principal? Rebecca Falkingham. That was a while back. She's no longer that. It's Simon Hollingsworth. And who was Simon Hollingsworth? Oh, yeah, he was that former Olympian, wasn't he? Curious. How would a former Olympian become the CEO of a corporation that's meant to be, running a service for the people to do justice? How would that be possible? Address 121 Exhibition Street, Victoria. Where are we here? Look, there's the phone number. Employees again. Revenue, there you go again. Fiscal year is June. Year started 1999, again incorporated. All right, so everything comes under the Department of Justice and Community Safety. Now I'm going to show you that that's actually fact again. ABN lookup, current details, Department of Justice, all capitals again, right? State government entity, active as of November 1999, same as what it said, incorporated in 1999, registered for GST in July 2001. How about that? Oh, sorry, on the 1st of July 2000, not 2001. Let's have a look at some of the businesses in here. IMES, Infringement Management and Enforcement Services, Sheriff's Office of Victoria. How about that? Residential Tenancies Bond Authority, Coroner's Court of Victoria. Office of Special Investigations Monitor, Victorian Government Solicitor's Office, Registrar of Births, Deaths and Marriages, another business. How about that? Registry of Births, Deaths and Marriages. Who would have thought that that would be a business, eh? That the birth of your child is actually making money and your marriage is actually making money. Do you ever think about that? So how sacred are the things that you've been holding sacred? How truly sacred are they if they're being commercialized? VCAT. Are you going to get a fair hearing at VCAT? I wonder why most people get shafted when they go there. Road traffic or road safety enforcement technology. So all those cameras, that they snap you with, it's a full business. Victim support agency. So that's a business too. How about that? Corrections Victoria, another business. All corporations. Remember, guys, I showed you it said incorporated, right? Judicial College of Victoria. Are they learning law? Are they learning about the things that exist that are binding on all of us, the conditions we can't change? Is that what they're learning there? Considering they're a business? The Gambling Research Panel. Liquor Licensing Victoria. Racing Appeals Tribunal. Trade Measurement Victoria. The Office of Public Prosecutions. Hello. Think about that one, guys. When you go into these fake courts, right, that are there to make money out of your suffering, the Office of Public Prosecutions is all part of it. Privacy Victoria, so your privacy is a business. Office of Victorian Privacy Commissioner, another business. Victorian Law Reform Commission. I mean, can it get any funnier? Adult Parole Board Victoria. Asset Confiscation Office. Business Licensing Authority. Consumer Credit Fund. Council Against Violence. Everything to do with every aspect of your life is a business. It's a corporation. It's generating 5.2 billion, guys. All part of it. It's all collecting to the same place. Magistrates Court of Victoria. How about that? Office of the Public Advocate. Prostitution Control Act Ministerial Advisory Committee. How about that? The Supreme Court of Victoria, another business. Who would have thought? So if you've ever walked into these fake courts and walked out going, that's not justice, maybe this is helping you understand why. So you can choose to ignore the facts because they're right here. They're for you to discover, right? You can choose to refuse objective truth. And then you can go, you know what? I choose to be ignorant. That's fine. But the thing about ignorance is that those who choose to be ignorant do not understand the consequences, not only to themselves, but for everyone else who's bound to their choices. Because you are the ones who will inflict suffering on other people based on your beliefs, not what you're willfully willing to actually go and discover with verifiable fact. And that's what they're doing. They're running this fraud for you to actually be a good slave and not question. And every single one of you who attacks everyone else, that's the essence of what you're doing. You can deny it all you like, but there's your facts, guys.